Dr. Bear is in the other room.
Okay, give him a call. John, we can start.
Okay. We start. Okay, we're ready also here.
Okay, welcome learners, welcome grade 11. I'm sure you are excited to be back to class. It's a privilege, and this has only been done by GMF Online Learning, and it's happening here, just right here. It's a wonderful day. I believe you're also excited to come back and just be in class, and this time it is online. Wonderful. My name is Teacher Kaira or Mr. Kaira, and I'll be taking you in computer studies. If you are learning this subject as an examinable subject, you are welcome. But if you are learning it also just to appreciate computers, you are also welcome. Okay, so what is it that we're expecting today? On the board here, we are going to look at logic gates and logic circuits. Logic gates and logic circuits. Okay, so now, before we go deep into the lesson, let us look at what we are expecting after this lesson. Number one, we should identify the 5 types of logic gates and recognize their symbols. We should identify the 5 types of logic gates and also recognize their symbols. Number 2, we should write down a truth table for a given logic gate from its truth table. Write down a truth table for a logic gate from its truth table. So before we go deep into the lesson, let me just give you a bit of the background of this topic. Now, this topic is coming from the lesson that we learned some time back, and that is the central processing unit. Remember that the central processing unit comprises of 3 components. These are, number 1, we have what we call the control unit. Then we also have the primary memory. Then we also have the arithmetic logic unit. So class, these are 3 components that makes up the central processing unit, or the CPU. Now, when you look at the control unit, you understand that this is the part of the CPU that is responsible for controlling instructions. For example, if you command any instruction on your keyboard, it is this part of the CPU that is responsible to direct those instructions to the desired destination. Then the primary memory, we understand that this is the storage of all processing, that is before processing and also after processing. So the primary memory is responsible for storage. Then the arithmetic logic unit, we refer to it as the ALU. The ALU or the ALU. Now this is the part of the CPU that is responsible for all calculations, for all computations and calculations. So now out of this part of the CPU, that's where you find what we call gates. That's where we find what we call gates. Are we together? Are we together? Now, I want to make this mention before we go further in our lesson that you can interact with me. You can send your contributions. You can also send your SMSs. This time I'm just picking SMSs through the line that is just on the screen there. If you can't see it, it's 09777 40 45 70. 09777 40 45 70. Are we together? Good. Now let's continue now. So having looked at that, we can now try to look at what is a gate. What is a gate? So I'm going to put that message on the screen so that you can also read. What is a gate? So a gate is a device that performs basic operations on electrical signals. So you understand that the computer, it also accepts electrical signals. Now those electrical signals, once they enter into the computer system, they pass through different gates. Like just a normal world. For us to go into a certain premise, there is an entrance. So in the computer system, there are what we call gates. And these gates, basically, they perform basically operations on what? Electrical signals. Are we together? Good. Now, gates are combined. Once gates are combined, they form what we call a circuit. Once gates are combined, they form what we call a circuit. Are we together? So a circuit basically is used to also perform complicated tasks. Now, class, what is logic gate? Or what is logic gate? So a logic gate, basically these are gates or electrical circuits that operate on one or more inputs to produce an output. You are following that? We are saying logic gate, this is just an electrical circuit that operates on one or more input signals to produce an output. Now learners, we need to understand and remember that a computer is digital by nature. A computer is digital by nature. What do we understand? Or what do we mean by digital in nature? We are saying a computer system uses what we call binary number system. And in grade 10, you did data representation, and you also did some calculations about data representation on how you convert certain numbers from binary to decimal, from decimal to binary, or from binary to hexadecimal, from hexadecimal also to octal numbers. You remember that? Yes. So we are just trying to lay a foundation to understand that a computer is digital in nature. In other words, it uses what we call bits. These are zeros and ones. Zeros and ones. They are called bits. These are zeros and ones. These are called bits. Do you remember what this means? It means binary digits. You remember. So we'll be dealing with a lot of binary digits in this lesson. Are we together? So binary information is represented in digital computers by physical quantities called signals. Are we together? Good. So electric signals such as volts exist through the computer in either one or two recognizable states. So the two states represent what we call the binary variables or the bits. So there are only two states in which these signals can be represented in binary form or in what we call bits. Are we together? Good. Now, when you talk about binary codes, these basically they deal with the binary variables which operates on logical assumptions. They work on what we call logical assumptions. Are we together? Are we together? Good. So the manipulation of binary information is done by the logic gates. Let me just put that information on the screen. Okay. So we are saying that the manipulation of binary information is done by logic gates. So gates are just blocks of hardware that produce signals that are binary in nature, that are zeros and ones, when input logic requirements are satisfied. Are we together? Good. So now a variety of logic gates are commonly used in digital computer systems today. We are saying a variety of logic gates are commonly used in digital computers system today. So each gate has a distinct graphical symbol and its operation can be described by means of an algebraic expression. So now let me give you that representation. Now that representation is what we refer to as notation methods. Notation methods. Are we together? So there are three distinct ways in which we can represent this information. Like what you have on the screen. Like what you have on the screen, we are saying there are three different but equally powerful notation methods for describing the behavior of gates and circuits. So we refer to them as Boolean expression. Then we also have, let me just write them here, the notation method. So we are saying the notational method that we use, we have the Boolean expression, then we also have the logic diagrams, then we also have truth tables. Yeah. So for us to understand logic gates and circuits, we are saying there's a notation that is used to demonstrate how these circuits can work. We use what we call the Boolean expression. Then we also use what we call logic diagrams. We also use what we call the truth table. Okay. Now, when you talk about Boolean expression, what is a Boolean expression? Okay, so on the screen I'm saying that a Boolean expression, this is an expression that is represented in algebraic notation. Okay, and an elegant and powerful way to demonstrate the activity. Good. I believe you are